Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, all about green squared. We have some brief housekeeping before we start. Your phones are muted. If you have any questions, please type them into the Q&A box in the corner of your screen, and we'll answer them at the end of today's session, time permitting, or via an email after. And you can always send questions to mapeidigital@mapei.com. We also invite you to visit our health and environment pages on our website, www.mapei.com, where we have multiple pages full of the latest industry information, including helpful links and downloads. These pages also happen to be overseen by today's speaker, MAPEI Corporation's Sustainability Manager, Brittany Storm. Brittany has a background as a sustainable building consultant and a background in construction, and it's this unique combination that allows her to speak to audiences about both the big picture as well as the technical aspects of a project. She's a LEED accredited professional, AP, with BD plus C and ID plus C specialties, as well as being a WELL AP and Fitwel ambassador. In addition, she's active on many sustainability committees, and I'm always happy to welcome her back to the microphone. Brittany, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jen, and thank you all for joining our webinar today titled All About Green Squared. As it was just mentioned, I have been around sustainability world for a while, and I will be honest, before joining MAPEI, I had no idea what Green Squared was all about, or how Green Squared tied into green building standards and certifications programs like LEED. I'm now very familiar with the program. I've gone through the certification process, and now I can share that process as well as how it can be used on green building standards and certification programs, all of which we'll talk about today. Rather than overload the audience with many certifications or attributes a product can have, like we do in past sustainability presentations, we're taking a deeper dive today on the Green Squared certification. If you haven't already signed up, I encourage you to subscribe and or follow MAPEI's website, social media accounts, etc. for upcoming webinars, including sustainability. I won't get too far into the weeds talking about MAPEI's commitment to sustainability because we would be here all day. But at MAPEI, sustainability is a part of everything we do. MAPEI is committed not only to manufacturing the best products for the building industry, but also to provide leadership in sustainability improvements. When it comes to our company's sustainable approach, people, planet, products, there's a lot of our focus is on sustaining the environment for today and for tomorrow. For more information about our commitment to sustainability and all of our sustainable attributes or certifications, check out our sustainability product report. The cover is what you're seeing there on the left, and it details all of the our approaches to sustainability. And now, without further ado, let's get into the thick of the subject today, which is Green Squared certification. There are many sustainability drivers today, a lot of which is thanks to green building standards and rating systems like LEED. Architects specify sustainability. There are local, state, and federal recommendations for using sustainable products. And consumers are also more environmental and health conscious as well. There are many manufacturers that have green product certifications or attributes to address these drivers. However, because there are so many green product certifications or attributes a single product can have, it makes the specification process, purchasing criteria, etc., very daunting for project teams. Green Squared involves one industry, one standard, and one mark, and covers the gamut of products used in a tile installation. As the first multi-attribute sustainability standard developed for tiles and tile installation materials, Green Squared uses the transparency and consensus of the ANSI process combined with third-party certification to evaluate, validate, and communicate products which have a positive impact on the environment and society. When it comes to sustainability, there are many things to consider. Compliance with codes, standards, and other requirements, environmental impacts, social responsibility, human health and wellness are just some of them. All of this was put together and the ANSI A138.1 standard was developed. The establishment of this standard facilitates the specification of sustainable tiles and sustainable installation materials. So despite the inherent sustainability of many tile products prior to Green Squared, they were often left out of consideration for many green building projects because the industry didn't have a multi-attribute sustainability standard. Now, architects, specifiers, and consumers have a valuable tool which establishes a consistent approach to the evaluation and determination of a product's sustainability. As I mentioned, Green Squared is a multi-sustainable attribute standard. The certification looks at our environmental, social, and health impacts. There is a marketplace recognition for sustainable tiles and tile installation materials. That's a mouthful. It's a clear industry position on what it means for a product to be green. It sets the bar for technical specification of sustainable tiles and tile installation materials. Green Squared was drafted by Tile Council of North America, or TCNA. They have a Green Initiative Committee, and this committee put together this Green Squared certification to acknowledge products which have been verified by an independent third party to be in conformance with ANSI A138.1. It's submitted to ANSI Accredited Standards Committee, the ASC A108 for further development and finalization. ASC A108 represents manufacturers, distributors, installers, green building professionals, and other relevant interests. And the result was the ANSI A138.1 Green Squared. It's an American National Standard specification for sustainable ceramic tiles, glass tiles, and tile installation materials. ANSI A138.1 is modeled after other respected green building product standards. And since being green today involves much more than the use of recycled materials or energy efficiency or any other single attribute, ANSI A138.1 takes a multiple attribute approach to sustainability. The ANSI standard is technically 5 standards in one. ANSI A138.1 covers a variety of products, including ceramic and glass tiles, powder products, so grouts, mortars, etc., liquid and paste installation products, so trowelable membranes, liquid polymer additives, and more. It also covers panel installation products, so backer boards or underlayments, and sheet installation products like crack isolation membranes, waterproofing membranes, etc. This allows the industry to offer installed systems of conforming products or a green system. The standard addresses product characteristics, manufacturing, end-of-life product management, corporate governance, and innovation, and it establishes the spectrum of environmental and social criteria most important to today's green building world. Product characteristics. This section standardizes sustainable attributes such as the amount of recycled content, the level of volatile organic emissions, the amount of indigenous raw materials, etc. Manufacturing. The second section standardizes sustainable production practices. End-of-life product management. This third section standardizes the end-of-life management. So although tile and tile setting materials are inherently durable and typically desirable for long-term, there are some scenarios where it needs to be addressed like a building's being demolished or scrap waste is generated during construction or remodeling. This section covers that sort of management. Progressive corporate governance. This section standardizes progressive governance of the standard. This means that manufacturers that make sustainable tiles or tile setting materials are held to standards for employee health and safety, community involvement, and continuous improvement. And the final section addresses innovation, or the development of sustainable products and operations that are progressive, technologically advanced, and or achieve something beyond what is required in the standard. Some of the criteria is mandatory, some of it's elective, and we'll talk about that some more. To meet ANSI A138.1, a product must meet all mandatory requirements and obtain a minimum threshold of elective credits. Credit weighting of each elective is based on ANSI ASC A108 dialogue, which takes into consideration both stringency and environmental relevance. There are a few steps to certification. The first is the application process. A manufacturer seeking to use Green Squared certified mark on their product applies directly to a certification body which is approved under the Green Squared program. There are currently 2 Green Squared approved certification agencies, SCS Global Services and UL Environment. Same criteria to meet. It doesn't matter who the manufacturer chooses. TCNA is hands-off in the certifying of products. The certification body, whether it's SCS or UL, then makes necessary arrangements with the manufacturer to evaluate whether or not the product meets ANSI A138.1 standard. There is a next part of the process is the evaluation phase. It's a general evaluation of the applicant's organization. So MAPEI is reviewed or evaluated. The evaluation of conformance to ANSI A138.1 product requirements. So they're also looking not only at our operations, but our product, and there's also an on-site facility evaluation. This evaluation, which is in accordance with the criteria of Green Squared requirements, includes a comprehensive and objective review of the product and its associated organization and the manufacturing facility. Based on the evaluation, if the certification body decides to certify that the product meets ANSI A138.1, the certification body authorizes the use of Green Squared certified mark. And then finally, the certification. Green Squared certification is awarded by the selected certification agency, not TCNA. And it's a certification that's valid for 5 years. You have to recertify every 5 years. And there are, within those 5 years, annual surveillance audits to make sure that nothing's slipping or falling between the cracks within those 5 years of the certification. There is a lot that goes into getting a product Green Squared certified. Green Squared incorporates a full range of sustainability issues into one standard. So everything highlighted is a mandatory requirement for Green Squared certification. It's a true life cycle performance standard, addressing everything from raw material extraction to end of product life management, as we talked about. There are a consistent set of criteria for evaluating the sustainability of tile and tile installation products. Product characteristics are evaluated, as well as manufacturing operations, end-of-life product life management, corporate governance, and there's things like carbon footprint awareness and greenhouse gas reduction strategies. A product is in conformance with ANSI standard if all of the mandatory criteria, or those that are in yellow, are prerequisites or mandatory. They have to be met in order to achieve Green Squared certification. And there's also a prescribed quantity of electives, depending on the product type, that have to be met, and manufacturers have the freedom to choose the electives that they need in order to meet the Green Squared certification requirements. So here is an example of Green Squared certification. Certified products are listed on the certifying agent's product library, the Green Squared website. The Green Squared logo is also added to certified product packaging, tech data sheets, sustainability product reports, our website, and many more options that are out there for communicating Green Squared certification was achieved. Next, how can you use Green Squared product certifications on green building certification programs? For those of you who are not familiar, this is a LEED scorecard. Specifically, this is a LEED version 4 or V4 BD and C, which stands for Building Design and Construction. It's a new construction scorecard. So depending on the LEED rating system and the version you're pursuing, this may look different. The majority of products and materials are limited to the materials category and materials and resources category, sorry, and the indoor environmental quality credit categories. So those, more specifically, those that are highlighted here. Products can contribute to these LEED credits. We've talked about some of these credits in detail in other webinars or plan to in upcoming webinars. It's important to note that our products are not LEED certified. No manufacturer can claim that. LEED certification is for buildings, not for people or for products. Products cannot achieve LEED points. They can only contribute to points. There are 14 points highlighted here. MAPEI is just one of many manufacturers that the project team would have to reach out to achieve those 14 points. I wish it was easier than that. There's also an innovation credit category available on every LEED project or LEED scorecard, regardless of the rating system and the version. And there are 3 ways to achieve innovation credit category. The intent of the innovation credit category is to encourage project teams to achieve exemplary or innovative performance. And the 3 ways to achieve that are 1, going above and beyond the credit thresholds on this scorecard. So pursuing exemplary performance or being exemplary compared to what's outlined in this scorecard. Another option is pursuing something innovative not shown on the scorecard. So examples that I've used in the past, green education, so using the building as a green teaching tool, or creating an integrated pest management plan for a project. That's what I used to do anyway. It's considered innovative. Or option 3, pursuing pilot credits. What are pilot credits? Pilot credits are intended to test new credit requirements and introduce these credits to LEED. The process allows projects to achieve innovation credits for requirements that haven't been through USGBC's complete development process. USGBC monitors the pursuit of pilot credits. Sometimes they are added into the LEED credit language in later versions, and sometimes they're thrown out. But right now, you can use Green Squared certified products on LEED projects, and currently they are available under the option 2 that you're seeing there, pilot section of the innovation credit category. The pilot credit is called MRPC 112. It's a certified multi-attribute products and materials credit. And we'll talk about that next. Okay, so here is the pilot's credit language. The intent of the credit is to encourage the use of products and materials for which life cycle information is available, and the product should have environmentally, economically, and socially preferable life cycle impacts. The credit requires that project teams use products from manufacturers who have validated multiple environmental attributes relevant to the product via independent consensus-based third-party certifications like Green Squared. Products have to earn and maintain their certification, at least until the project has gone through LEED certification. They also have to meet life cycle assessment or LCA requirements, and that LCA must assess the impact categories shown above. Through one approved certification or multiple approved certifications, project teams must use at least 25% by cost of the total value of permanently installed products in the project. I know that sounds strangely worded, and we'll explain that. And also another way of wording it is 25% of all of the project's products based on total material cost must meet this credit's requirements in order to earn 1 point. So unfortunately, it's not as simple as having a single product with a green squared or other certification criteria. There's a lot more involved in it. On the last slide, I mentioned approved third-party certifications, and here they are. Green Squared certification is one of many approved or other third-party certifications. Others include furniture sustainability standards, sustainability assessment for carpet and resilient floor coverings, standard for sustainability for gypsum board and panels, as well as sustainability standards for single ply roofing membranes and wall covering products. So I expanded on Green Squared certification requirements here. The others have different requirements, and obviously we're not going to talk about those today. But for Green Squared, the certification is an approved third-party certification with a few requirements. The product must achieve Green Squared Credit 3.8.1, which I will talk about in a minute. It must achieve Green Squared Credit 3.1 levels 1, 2, or 3, and or Credit 3.2 levels 1, 2, or 3 for various levels of contribution. There are a few things required for documentation. There is a pilot credit forum, and there are survey questions that USGBC will ask project teams that are pursuing this credit. They ask questions like, how many products did you have to purchase to meet this credit's requirements? How many different manufacturers did you have to ask? Was it easy or challenging to obtain documentation from manufacturers? So they ask these questions to further develop the credit language to determine whether or not they want to incorporate a pilot credit into LEED on the scorecard that we saw, or if they want to toss it out because it's not something that's, or it's not a credit that's typically pursued. In addition to the survey and the forum participation, project teams must provide credit-specific documentation, multi-attribute certification scorecard for each product, and a cost calculation to determine the percentage of the total product cost. Unfortunately, it's not as simple as providing this certification. Project teams have to reach out to participating manufacturers for additional information. Project teams should request multi-attribute certification scorecard for each product. And these are snippets of the scorecard that MAPEI and SCS Global Services use to communicate. For LEED, project teams should locate Green Square's credit 3.8.1 and verify that the product has met this credit. So in addition to providing the Green Squared certification, project teams also have to reach out to manufacturers and ask for this scorecard. It's what it's called, a certification scorecard. And this is a scorecard that's typically used to communicate where we're at with points, and there's a lot more that's not shown here on the screen showing MAPEI's and SCS Global Services comments going back and forth asking for information to show compliance with these credits and all of the credits within the Green Squared scorecard. So there are points there are points, so we can see under this 3.8.1 that the credit was met. Next, per LEED's requirements, we also need to look for green squared credit 3.1 and identify the level achieved. Level 1 is mandatory, which you're seeing there on the left. And then also for credit 3.2 on the right with the other 3.1 levels. So if it has a point, it means that that particular product achieved the requirements or got score on the scorecard and is compliant with these various mandatory and elective credits. So for MAPEI's ultralight mortar and ultralight S2, looks like all 3 levels were achieved. And so this scorecard is submitted to USGBC as one part of what's required for submittals. Oops. Next is the cost calculation. If a product achieves 3.8.1 and 3.1 levels 1 through 3 and or 3.2 levels 1 through 3, the product contributes to 100% of the total product cost. This is an example cost calculator. I just put this together for communicating how cost impacts points within LEED. In this example, ultralight mortar and ultralight S2 meet all of the requirements, so the cost is valued at 100%. So you see the second column from the left, the cost is 1,500, and because all of the check boxes across the next few columns are checked, we can use the percent add as 100% of their value, so they've maintained their value. Let's say they met they met 3.1 level 1 and 3.2 level 1. The product only contributes to 50%, so you can see how that's changed. So in this example, ultralight mortar and S2 products cost are valued at 50%, as shown on the far right. And then same thing for level 2 of credits, 3.2 and 3.1, they would contribute to 75% of the total cost. Green Globes is another example of green building certification program. Green Globes has 2 credits within their standard that cover green squared. This is different from LEED in that green squared is not part of LEED's scorecard. Project teams have to choose to pursue the pilot credit I just talked about. With Green Globes, they have a materials category, and within the materials category, there is a section titled product life cycle. And this is a mouthful. 5.2.1.1 is a section within the product life cycle that focuses on cradle to gate product life cycles. This life cycle assesses a product's environmental impacts from extraction or the cradle to factory gate, so before it's transported to consumers. So that's the cradle to gate approach. There's another credit, 5.2.1.2, which focuses on cradle to grave product life cycles. This life cycle assesses a product's environmental impacts from extraction, again, cradle, to disposal or end of life, which is grave. For 5.2.1, project teams need to collect a minimum of 15 products that evaluate the cradle to gate product life cycle. Based on the number of products you find with this criteria, you can get anywhere from 5 to 29 points. It seems like a lot compared to LEED, which is only 1 point. However, Green Globe's point system is very different than LEED. Green Globes works on a 1,000-point scale, and LEED works on a 110-point scale. So. For projects pursuing 5.2.1.2, projects teams need to collect a minimum of 5 additional products in addition to 5.2.1.1. And these minimum of 5 products are used to evaluate cradle to grave product life cycle. So based on the number of products you find with this criteria, you can get anywhere from 5 to 10 points. There we go. So today we talked about LEED and green globes, and there are several other green building standards or certification programs that accept green squared, including ASHRAE's standard for design and high performance green buildings. There's also the National Association of Home Builders, and IGCC has a code section that includes green squared language. Green squared is also recommended by the EPA, and GSA specifies green squared products. Now that was a quick one. So that's all I have on green squared. Check out Green Squared's site for more information on the certification program and participating manufacturers. Or if you have any MAPEI specific Green Squared questions or how we contribute to LEED or Green Globes or other green building programs, including working with GSA projects, please feel free to contact me. Thank you for your time today, and I'm here to answer any questions if anyone has anything.
Great, thanks, Britt. There are a few questions actually. The first one, talking about other certification types. MAPEI's Green Squared certification is third-party verified by SCS Global Services. How is that different than MAPEI's SCS Global Services Indoor Advantage Gold?
Yes, so we use SCS Global Services to verify compliance with Green Squared, and we also use SCS Global Services for our Indoor Advantage Gold VOCs emissions certification. SCS Indoor Advantage Gold certification is a certification, it's a single attribute, unlike Green Squared. It's a certification that's sole purpose is for certifying VOC emissions of our products. So our adhesive sealants, architectural coatings, flooring underlayments, and flooring accessories that can be used within the weatherproofing of a building have undergone testing for this certification. Green Squared it does take into account VOC emission certifications, but it also takes into account other product certifications that we have. And a single MAPEI product can have up to 7 attributes or certifications. And I believe Green Squared takes just about all of those into consideration, including the VOCs.
Wow. Okay, wow, here's a good one. How many Green Squared products does MAPEI have?
Currently 6. As you saw from the criteria, there is a lot that goes into achieving Green Squared certification.
Yeah.
I know it sounds all exciting, and then you say 6, and it's like, really, that's it? No, having gone through the process now, we would absolutely love to add more to Green Squared certification. There's just a lot of moving parts and pieces that go into it. As you saw from the criteria,
Yeah.
there's a lot beyond just certifying a single attribute like VOC emissions. It gets into the corporate side and plant audits. It's a lot that goes into it. So we certainly try to add as many products as we can to Green Squared, and we update annually. I will say though, MAPEI is the only tile setting manufacturer with Green Squared certification.
That's good to know.
Yeah, so our 6.
Yeah. And it's really involved.
Yes.
Boy. Okay, here's another one. Are powder products, excuse me, expected to meet the same criteria as ceramic tile?
More or less, yes. There are some specific criteria within Green Squared that's not applicable to tile or not applicable to tile setting materials. One credit that comes to mind, there's a credit within Green Square called Solar Reflectance Index, or SRI. It's primarily for tiles used in exterior spaces, making sure that you're minimizing heat island effects. So it's important to use light colored tiles, and it's just not something that's applicable to our product type or powder product types.
Wow, it's a lot. All right. Well, I'll give a few more minutes for people to type. But as Brittany mentioned, if you do have other questions about this or any other sustainability topic, you can always send them to her attention at MAPEI, digital@mapei.com, and we'll be happy to get them to her. Brittany, thank you again for another great webinar, and we look forward to the next one.
Great, thanks for having me.
And thank you, everybody, for spending some time with us today. We know that days get busier and busier as they go along, and we really do appreciate the fact that you've chosen to spend some time with us. So until the next time, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.